is our very last lesson for Module 3.
Yay!
So today is Module 3, Lesson 19, Problem Solving on the Coordinate Plane. Today, really nothing new in terms of procedures or computations. We're just going to look at applying what we've already learned and taking it to the next step. Okay? And tomorrow's activity is actually going to reinforce today's lesson. And you get to glue stuff. Alright, so let's start off with just reviewing what we did yesterday. So your opening exercise on page 72 said, in the coordinate plane, find the distance between the points using absolute value. So before that, what do we need to know so that we can do that? What do we have to know? Oh, yeah, that would help. But we're going to assume the intervals are 1. Okay, so if they don't give them to you, we'll assume the intervals are 1. So if the intervals are 1, now what do we do? Yeah, let's see what these ordered pairs are. So go ahead. Number your x and y axis. Now I see that my that my x coordinates are the same. So when my x coordinates are the same, what type of line did I create? Vertical, right, not blue, vertical. Okay, so that creates a vertical line when my x coordinates are the same. 4 to 4. I did not slide across the x-axis. My x stayed the same, so it's a vertical line. So now I want to find the distance from the two endpoints. So which coordinates are different? The y coordinates. So I'm going to identify the absolute value of both y coordinates. I can bring it to you in a second. So my value of both y coordinates is 4, but am I going to add them together or subtract them? I have a distance of 4 on this side of the axis and a distance of 4 on that side. Remember the fisherman?
Oh, and.
So I'm going to add these two together. Remember, when you cross into a new quadrant, when you cross any axis, you have to add the two absolute values together because it's almost like having two distances, one on each side of the axis. How do I know, without looking at the picture, how do I know that my y coordinates crossed an axis and I went into a different quadrant? Just by looking at my two y coordinates. They have different signs. One is positive and one is negative. So when they have different signs, that tells me that I crossed an axis and I have to add them together. So what is the distance between those 2 points? 8. So if you want to label that on your graph, you can do that. All right, so now let's move on to exercise 1. All right, so number 1, locate and label 4, 5, and 4, -3. Draw the line segment between the endpoints given on the coordinate plane. How long is it? Well, right off the bat, by looking at my ordered pairs, is that a horizontal line or a vertical line? Is that horizontal or vertical, and why? Why do we know that this is a horizontal line? All right. So let's see if he's right. Go ahead and draw them. We have over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 5. 4, -3. That created a vertical line. When your x coordinates are the same, it's a vertical line. In your notes, make sure you study that. So how long is it? To see how long it is, we have to look at our y coordinates. I have 5 and -3. Because we're talking about distance, we use absolute value. Am I adding my absolute values or am I subtracting my absolute values? Why am I adding them? Why am I adding my two absolute values together? Right, when we cross the axis, we add the two absolute values together. Without even looking at the picture, how do I know I crossed the axis? Just by looking at my two y coordinates, how do I know it crossed an axis? Logan? Exactly. When they have opposite signs, that means we crossed over. Very good. Proud of all of you. So this distance is 8. All right. So now draw a horizontal line. Remember, horizontal means side to side. Starting at 4, -3, and it has a length of 9 units. Since it's horizontal, I'm going in which direction? Up, down, left, right? It says horizontal.
Left or right?
Left or right. Does it tell me which way to go?
No.
So I could start at 4, -3 and go to the right. But I'm going to end up doing what?
You're going to go off the...
I'm going to go off the grid. Now, technically, these grids go on forever because they're number lines, and number lines go on forever. However, you're not going to be going off the grid. So we don't want to go 9 to the right. If we did go 9 to the right, where would we end up? If we started at 4 and went 9 more, what's 4 plus 9?
15.
4 plus 9? 13. So we could go to 13, -3. But we're not going to. We want to stay on the grid. So let's go horizontally 9 to the left. So if I'm starting at -3, I already used 3 to get to 0. I'm sorry, I used 4 to get to 0. So how many do I have to go? How many more? 5 more, because 5 plus 4 is 9. So label that. Even without counting the boxes, you could figure it out. I have to go from 4 and go 9 to the left. So I did 4. So I need to do 5 more to make a total of 9. So if you want to label that length with a 9, you can do that. So the ordered pair is -5, -3. Make sure you have all of this on your notes. All right, so let's continue. So here we have our picture. The two line segments that you have just drawn could be seen as two sides of a rectangle. Given this, the endpoints of the two line segments would be 3 of the vertices of this rectangle. Does anybody have a question on what I just read? Yes, awesome question. What does vertices mean? It's a fancy word for,
Like the corner?
yeah, it's a fancy word for corner. So if you want to write that in your notes, a vertice is where two endpoints meet. So this is a vertice for those two line segments. Okay? This is the vertice for the other line segment. So we had, come on, boys, getting cranky again. Oh, come on. Okay, there we go. So find the coordinates of the fourth vertex. Again, that's the singular version of vertice. The vertex, so if you want to write corner to remind you, of the rectangle. Explain how you find the coordinates of the fourth vertex using absolute value. Well, we already know our other vertices. So go ahead and find the fourth vertex. Remember, a rectangle has two sets of parallel sides. So if this side was 9, that side has to be 9. If this side was 8, that side has to be 8. So since I'm making a vertical line, what's going to be the same, my x or my y coordinate? My x is going to be the same. So I know that's a 5. I have to go from -3, 8 spaces. So -3 to 0 is 3, and then I have to go 5 more. So I was able to figure that out without even counting the boxes. Now let's make sure that it matches this way. Since it's a horizontal line, what ordered pair has to be the same? The y coordinate. So I have 5 and 5. Is the distance between -5 and 4 9? Yes, because -5 to 0 would be 5, and then 4 more would make it 9. Okay, so our fourth vertex, sorry. I'm in a vertex today. All right, a vortex. So the fourth vertex, I'm going to just stop. -5, 5. Okay? So draw the remaining sides of the rectangle. And then we finish with number 3. So far, this is a nice review of everything that we've done yesterday. And like I said, we're going to take what we learned yesterday and apply it a little bit differently. Here we made a lovely quadrilateral. What's a quadrilateral? What's a quad? Like a quadrant. What's a quadrilateral?
A four-sided shape.
Exactly, a four-sided figure. This one happens to be a rectangle. So now we're going to look at this rectangle, and for 4, we want to find the perimeter, and 5, we want to find the area. What is perimeter? What is perimeter? Who remembers that? Perimeter. It's the distance around the outside, like a fence around a pool. So perimeter, to find it, we add all the sides. So we add all 4 sides together. How do we find area? Like a pool cover. How would we find the area? So we're going area equals length times width. So the area will equal 9 times 8. So go ahead and solve 4 and 5, and then we'll go over them. So to find the perimeter, it's 8 plus 9 plus 8 plus 9. 8 plus 8 is 16. 9 plus 9 is 18. If it helps to rearrange, you can do that. Addition is commutative. Okay, so 16 plus 18 is? 34. So our perimeter is 34 units. It didn't tell us if it represents feet or inches, so we're just going to say units. 34 units. Okay?
And I know.
Now look how I wrote number 5 with the formula first. You must do that. The second line, you replace the letters with the numbers. Third line, area equals 72, and how do we label area? Units squared. Are there any questions or 4 or 5? Yes. Yep, length times width. So area equals 72 units squared. Any questions on that? All right, I want to skip 6. What they did for number 6 was draw a diagonal line between the 2 vertices and make triangles. So they wanted you to find the area of the triangle. So I'll just show you. Area equals 1/2 base times height. Area equals 1/2 8 times 9. Area equals 4 times 9. Area equals 36 units squared. We're not going to see anything with triangles on the test, but I just thought I'd throw it out there to show it to you real quick. Okay? If you want to copy that down for number 6 quickly, but you don't have to worry about it. And that's reasonable because the triangle is half of a rectangle. So if the area of our rectangle was 72, is 36 half of 72? Yes, so that's a reasonable answer. The triangle is half of our quadrilateral. All right, now it's time to play detective. Similar to the activity we're going to do tomorrow. You ready? Construct a rectangle on the coordinate plane that satisfies each of the criteria listed below. Identify the coordinate of each of its vertices, corners. So draw a rectangle and find the coordinates of each corner. Now, each of the vertices lies in a different quadrant. Okay? So does that mean the origin is going to be in the center of our shape? In the middle somewhere? Yep. The sides are either vertical or horizontal. What that means is that it's made of all straight sides. We cannot have any angles like that. All of the sides are horizontal or vertical. The perimeter is 28. Ooh. So if the perimeter is 28, what could the length of the sides be?
You can do size 9 and the other size 5.
So 9 plus 9 plus 5 plus 5. So we could do a 9 by 5. What else could we do? So you could do a 9 by 5 rectangle.
10 and 4.
We could do 10 plus 10 plus 4 plus 4. So you could do a 10 by 4.
6 plus 8.
6 plus 6 plus 8 plus 8. So you could do a 6 times 8.
Could be 5. I don't know.
What about 1, 1? Would that work? And if I use the decimal? I can't, because if one side was 1, it would not be crossing into all 4 quadrants. So a side of 1 does not work. All right, so you can choose any. Now suppose I told you that it had to have an area of 40. Which one would you have to use? You have to use, if it has an area of 40 units squared, you'd have to use this one. You'd have to use that one. And suppose I told you your first point should be 1, 1. Go. Draw a rectangle that starts at 1, 1, has a perimeter of 28, and an area of 40. Has to fit in all 4 quadrants.
Did it.
So could I go up?
Yes. No.
No, I have to go down to go into the 4th quadrant. So I could either go down 1, 2, 3. So that's one choice. My lengths are 4 by 10, so it has a perimeter of 28 and an area of 40. Did anybody do it differently? How'd you do it? Instead of going down 4, did you go down 10?
Yeah.
Okay, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you could have gone down, down here to -1, -9. I'm sorry, yeah, +1, -9. And then gone over 4, -3, -9.
Yeah.
-3, 1, and then back to 1, 1.
Yep.
So those were your 2 choices. Okay? So tomorrow you're going to be going on a scavenger hunt like this, where I'm going to give you shapes, and you have to figure out the area, figure out how to glue them on a coordinate grid based on clues like that. Okay? You're going to have to do a little more work than I gave you today. Hold on, I'm still speaking. Don't pack up.